So, here we are. Should feel like you're at the beginning. Even though some of you are going to leave. If you don't stay till the end, I want to, and I know some people do have to leave for whatever reasons, take your stuff and in the Jerusalem place, Zen Center, where we're creating a, you're all invited, but we're building a garden, a Zen garden for meditation and walking. And every couple weeks or month, we have a gardening day. And it's working meditation. Really nice. Okay, we've been doing a lot of work. It's under the supervision of our gardener, Jonathan. That's right. Who also is one of our co-organizers here. So he's multi-talented. And he meditates. And his brother's a monk. Say no more. Yeah, he's like that bodhisattva gardener I was telling you about, you know. I'm more scared of Jonathan though. But so we're planning. So Jonathan number 2 or 1, depending how you count, this one here, mentioned to me, why don't we do a gardening day on Sukkot, since it's kind of like a lot of people are on holiday. So, yes. What day that will be, make sure that all of you are on our list then if you came to this retreat. Then you all got the email. So if you don't mind getting other emails about things we do, like the gardening day, then look for that, and if you can come, that's great. And the dana for this retreat will be going a lot of it to the gardening, because gardens are expensive, sorry to say. Cost money. So you're invited to that. And the other thing I do want to mention that you should already put in your calendar is exactly 4 months from this weekend, we're going to have a winter retreat in Kerem at Achiot Zion, the place we're usually at, but it was booked, so we came here. Okay. But that place is great too, and it's going to be a Zen in the Arts retreat in the first weekend of December. So already book it. That's all I want to say. Well, no. September to October, October to November. 3 months? Look, I didn't say I'm not a mathematician, okay? What? No, December. Okay, it's December. So 3 months, right? Now I know when my kids are failing math.
Just that I won't be here, so I was like, so if it's 4 months, then it's okay. But if it's 3 months, it's a problem.
Change your ticket. That goes for the rest of you. Right? Yeah. The topic of this retreat was Metta, which we haven't done. And the topic of that one is art, which we do like art and meditation. So it's also good. But the topic of this is Metta. So let's go back to our topic where I wanted to read something that the Buddha said. He said, when he gave a talk on Metta, he said, monks, when universal love leading to the liberation of the mind is practiced, developed, resorted to, used as one's vehicle, made the foundation of one's life, fully established, well consolidated and perfected, then these 11 blessings may be expected. What 11? So if you practice Metta, but really practice it, okay, meaning it's like your whole mind, your consciousness, your life is Metta. Loving kindness, care for all beings, basically you're a bodhisattva enlightened. Then you get these 11 blessings. But I also want to think that even if it's not complete, that when you are practicing metta, you probably are getting something of that as well. So let's give ourselves some credit. Okay? So let's just say you'll get it in some level. What are these 11? I'm laughing because, what's that?
We learn how to count and
yeah, learn it.
study.
Well, I'm not going to count them right now. I'm just going to read them. One sleeps happily. You see, it's like already worth it. You know? It's already worth it. One sleeps happily. That's number one. One wakes happily. You know? I guess you're doing dream metta as well, right? There's like dream metta. One wakes happily. One does not suffer bad dreams. Well, the Buddha's really worried about our night. One is dear to human beings. Okay. Well, I mean, if we're practicing metta, even if it's not your whole life, at the time that you're practicing metta, you're probably, dear to human beings. One is dear to non-human beings. That's nice. Cats. The gods protect one. I don't have any comment on that one. No fire or poison or weapon harms one. Okay? I guess if you're really loving, no one's going to want to poison you. So it's kind of like, no one wants to harm someone who's like really practicing, who's a metta person, right? One's mind gets quickly concentrated. Actually, you may notice that if you're really distracted and you just arouse a bit of metta, the distractions are nonsense. You see what really matters, right? You gain that focus, that perspective. If you're feeling really distracted and it's hard for you to do mindfulness, or you just like can't focus on your present, metta will bring you back. It'll bring you back, because then it's sort of, increasing your perspective. So your meditation is not just about you. Sometimes with mindfulness, one of the weaknesses is it seems very self-focused. Like me, my experience, my walking, my breath, me, Metta takes you out of the me, right? It really opens it up. So yeah, it does increase your concentration. I lost the number already, lost count. The expression of one's face is serene. Maybe. But that actually is a good blessing, right? It is a good blessing to have a nice, what's called continence, a nice face. If your face is peaceful, right, you're probably going to have better interactions with other people, right? If your face is angry or just, distraught or tense, then people react in kind, we say, right? So if you're peaceful, then it spreads, love spreads, peace spreads, okay? Body language is important here. This one is really important too. One dies peacefully. Okay? Even if one fails to attain higher states, one will at least reach the state of the Brahma world. Okay, so some of those I don't know what to say about. The gods and Brahma and stuff. And the poison is probably true. But the point is that even if we kind of are skeptical that our metta practice, may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be free of suffering, may you be happy, may you be peaceful, may you be free of suffering, right? And if you extend it beyond just the individual, so you either go to individuals or you make it global, you expand it out, You're riding on the bus, you start with yourself, you go to the person beside you, you go to the whole bus. And it's a metta bus. But the magical metta bus, right? So the truth is it's going to change. It may not change their experience, but it is going to change your experience. It is going to have a direct impact, immediate effect on your experience. And over time, these blessings will start to, you'll be more serene, okay? You'll sleep with less worry, probably. You'll wake looking forward to doing more metta. You know, imagine that if you wake up and instead of thinking, what do I have to do, you know, or what am I late for, you're like, let's start the metta. You know, imagine waking up like that. Okay? And it's actually not so out of our reach. It just takes a bit of reminding, a bit of practice. And eventually, throughout one's life, you know, he skipped ahead to the end of your life. You'll probably die peacefully if you're loving, right? If you're afraid and worried about yourself, then you won't have a serene face, okay? So, these blessings are not so radical, at least most of them. You know, most of them we can relate to as real things, right? So even if you wonder what is metta good for, here it's pretty clear. It is good for something. Okay, it's going to change your life if nothing else. What I want to do is right now take this opportunity to actually go over the Metta Sutta, this sutra with you. The Metta Sutra was the Buddha's teaching on metta, and it, you know, is here. There's anyone doesn't have it, it's passed down. So, you know, we've been doing this whole metta, loving kindness retreat, and there's actually a sutra which is a teaching verbatim recorded Buddha's words on metta. So it's worthwhile for us to consider and read, which is what I want to do with you now. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways. Frugal means like you're not extravagant, you don't want a lot, you know, you make do with less. Peaceful and calm, wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Reprove is like, you know, when someone tells you, you know, that wasn't good, you made a mistake. Wishing, in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and will. Whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding on to fixed views. The pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. So as we see, this includes a lot of the aspects that we've gone over, but the Pali commentaries divide it into 3 sections, the Metta Sutra. And the first section is from the start to where it says, let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. So the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. First 12 lines, 11 or 12 lines, okay, up until where it says wishing. Because that first part is basically the way you need to live your life in order to start practicing metta. Okay? This is like the type of qualities, the type of precepts we want to have. Okay? The type of character. It's not even telling us what to do. It's just saying the type of person you want to be if you want your metta to be, to happen, to work, right? Able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature, let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Now that's a high standard, isn't it? But it's a good one. If you don't aim high, you won't get even in the middle. Okay? So have these qualities as some, good guiding qualities that we don't talk about so much anymore. People don't usually extol the virtues of being humble, meaning humility is not praised in our day and age so much, right? And being frugal is not praised, but rather being extravagant and having, a lot of extras, right? Peaceful and calm, wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Okay? These are good qualities, and some of the way we do this is by keeping what's called the precepts, the 5 precepts, all right? Keeping a sort of sila, which is morality, moral life, which is just saying, I'm not going to harm living beings, okay? One of the ways we start by practicing loving kindness and metta is by ceasing from harm. We cease from harm, okay? Because causing harm is the opposite of, metta. It really is the opposite of metta. So the 5 precepts, which are all about stopping harm. That's like the first stop to cultivating in life, in an active life, metta, is by keeping the 5 precepts. And those precepts are, not killing or taking any life, which is supporting life, okay? And not using language deceptively, not deceiving, okay? Not having, harmful intimate relationships. That obviously causes harm. And lying causes harm. Killing causes harm. Not taking anything that is not freely given, meaning no stealing. Of course, that causes harm. And not clouding the mind with intoxicants, because that causes harm to yourself, which then causes harm to others. So those 5 precepts then are ways we start to practice metta. The first stage of metta is ceasing from harm, right? Just ceasing from causing harm. And seeing, making certain commitments. You don't need to feel this great love. You need to first just say, I'm going to try to cause no harm. Okay? As, stage 1, which everyone can do. And that's why the 5 precepts, the Buddhist precepts, they're not Buddhist, they're just living precepts. Don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, don't have harmful relationships, and, don't be intoxicated. Basic, right? But we tend to, get a bit foggy. The way we can turn them inside out also is by saying that each of those 5 have a positive equivalent. Okay, not killing is equivalent to saying cherishing life and supporting it. Not only not wanting to harm, but wanting to help. Okay? Not speaking deceitfully or untruth is to use language well, and so that it creates harmony. Use your language so it creates greater harmony. All right? Not having harmful relationships means, honoring the other, as a full human being that deserves goodness. Not stealing means being generous. Okay? Being generous, right? Give more. Give more. And not being intoxicated means cultivating clarity. The clarity of your mind is the most precious, possession you have. You're going to lose all external things. At the end of your life, it's your mind you're going to have left with you. people, things, possessions, status, all that. But your mind, okay, cultivate now. So that's the first stage of the Metta Sutra. And then the second one, okay, is like you got to cultivate a certain way of life. A certain way of life that ceases from doing harm, that tries to do greater good, and is, really focused on keeping your mind clear and aware, right? That's, the background for Metta. And that's what the first stage of Metta is basically just reinforcing. You want to be the type of person that you hold in respect, okay? Think of someone you really respect and then emulate those qualities, right? Meaning, like, use that as an example. Seek out your spiritual teachers. Then the second stage of the Metta is where we have actual instructions of intentions you should have. Wishing. So here we have the wishing aspect, which in, later teachings, they boil down to like, may you be happy, may you be, free of suffering, may you live in peace and ease. But those, statements, which are like helpful and useful for us, were drawn from this part of the Metta Sutra, which is, in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Okay? In gladness, safety, being at ease. May you be, happy. May you be peaceful. And may you be, as we see later on, free of suffering. Okay? Whatever living beings there may be. Now here we have the real universal aspect of it, which is important to remind ourselves. Although, it's hard to sometimes have metta for all beings. Because when you think of all beings, you're really thinking of no beings. It's just kind of real general, right? Like they've done research on how people donate to charities. And if you give a statistic, like there's, 20 million children suffering from malaria in Africa, like you're not going to get much money. If you show a picture of one kid who's like suffering from malaria, that gets like way more. Okay? Because people identify with an individual. So if you want your metta to start to strengthen, then, imagine, focus on individuals. And then slowly spread it out. But don't start with the all beings, may all beings be happy. All beings? Who's that? I don't know anyone named all beings, right? But think of specific being, even if it's non-human, okay? And then, all beings, whether they're weak or strong, omitting none, great or mighty, medium, short or small, seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, born and to be born. That's interesting. May all beings be at ease. Okay, the weak and the strong, the successful, the rich and the poor, however we see weak and strong in our society, omitting none. That's an important aspect, right? And that's why sometimes we choose the difficult person, maybe not the most difficult person in our life, but somebody that doesn't make me feel so, close to them. That strong person, what do they need my metta for? It's like this powerful rich king, like, whatever the rich king is in our country here. That he needs my metta? Yeah, probably. Probably someone who's rich and powerful and needs metta needs to awaken to true happiness. And not the happiness of just like dominating and controlling others. Not the happiness of power, but the happiness of love. Different, right? So yeah, omitting none. That's really quite important. Okay? Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Okay? That's as far as we go to the second stage. Okay? That was the wish. And then the third stage that the commentaries talk about is where we have this sort of, it becomes like a really, a big point of view. It becomes like the way we actually want to see the world. It wants to be a perspective. Instead of like a direction, it's more a point of view, a perspective we have, which is, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart one should cherish all living beings. So here we have, instead of just the wishes, right? Like this boundless heart. We want to cherish all living beings. Someone asked me before, what does warm zazen mean? Like when I said, like Suzuki Roshi said, your zazen should be a warm zazen, right? Your meditation should be warm, okay? Here we're talking about the boundless heart of cherishing all living beings. And you start by cherishing yourself, right? That cherishing, that really, I'm so glad you're alive. Like, I'm so glad you're alive, The cherishing, where do you start? Like, you should be glad that you're alive. Self-cherishing means like the self-love here is not for the love of the ego, but it's the metta love of saying, you know what, I'm so glad I'm alive because this is exactly the place I can, do the most. It's a real gift to be alive, right? It's rare, okay, it's important, it's unique, and it's a real privilege, right? So don't squander, we say, like don't waste it. Don't waste this opportunity. You should cherish this opportunity, to purify your mind and to practice metta, right? You should cherish it. And this is, the self-cherishing starts with that. Metta is like cherishing, like a mother protects her child with her life. All right. So first you want to, kind of strange to say, you want to be your own mother. Okay? You want to be your own parent. Our parents are not always the most equipped to give us the real love we need. Especially as you get older or whenever it is. They, do what they can, but you need to fill in the rest. So here we have, you actually have to be your own mother. And that's the type of metta you want, that you're going to protect your life with your own life. Yes. Okay. You have to cherish it because it has infinite value. If you can see your life and the life of others as having infinite value, right? You'll take a bullet for them. Okay? So you have to, strange to say, take a bullet for yourself. But basically, you want to see your life as having infinite value, right? Like a mother sees in her child. And then, of course, we wish the best, The mother's protecting it because the mother wants the child to just be happy. And whatever you choose, you choose this direction, you choose that direction. And that's your choice, but I just want you to be happy and not cause harm, Don't cause harm, be happy, okay, and be clear. Don't cause harm, be happy, and be clear, right? That's really what a parent wants for their child. And that's what you should want for yourself. So that's where we start with our metta. So when I'm asking, what is a warm zazen? You're sitting zazen because that's what you want. Okay? You want to be happy, you want to not suffer, you want your mind to be clear. You want those three things, and that makes your zazen warm. You're not just doing it because, I don't know, because I'll feel bad if I don't. Like I made a commitment, I'm going to do it. Sometimes, yeah, okay. That's, you're living up to a commitment you don't want to, because whatever, you have other things in mind. But when you come back to metta and you're saying, wait, I'm practicing zazen because I really want to be happy. I really want to end suffering. I don't want to suffer anymore in any form. And I want to be really clear. I want my mind to be clear. I want to be able to see things clearly, okay, in life. I want to be able to pay attention to what matters. That's what metta is about. Reminding us what really matters. And it's these three qualities. Happiness, lack of suffering, and clarity. Radiating kindness all over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths. Outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and will, standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. So here we have also, this is not like a practice you do just while you're sitting, but in every posture. You can remember metta. you can remember it. You can remember to direct it towards yourself or to others. This is a very flexible. Okay, this practice can go with you like your breath everywhere you are. So the more you practice it, the more it will become just, the way you think. And that's probably a good thing. Because the alternative, we've tried, and it's not so satisfying. Okay, not holding on, that's said to be the sublime abiding, not holding on to fixed views. That's a tough one, isn't it? Not holding on to fixed views. Having fixed views and practicing metta, the Buddha is suggesting don't go together. Okay? Having fixed views, being dogmatic about something, and then caring about somebody or having metta for someone who doesn't share your view. Like, it's pretty easy to have metta for people who are like you or who share your opinions. But someone who doesn't share your opinion and maybe has an opposite opinion, can you still have, infinite care for them, right? Like a mother for a child. And that's a tall order, okay? That's a high level. But at least we should start to be aware of how our fixed views create division, not harmony. Okay? It doesn't mean don't have views, but just be flexible. Okay? Don't let your views prevent you from seeing the reality of the other human being. Right? Views are views. Okay? Human is human. Don't confuse the two. Love the human, not the view. Okay. Pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires. Okay. The Metta Sutra. Yes.
I have a problem with being freed from all sense desires.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
What's the problem?
Buddha wasn't celibate. I don't think he had a problem with women. And I don't understand where metta would be being not accepting your sensual sense desires or your sensual desires.
Yeah.
Why would one want to be free from all sensual desires?
Yeah. So I think the key word here is understanding what desire means. Okay? Sense desires doesn't mean you don't have sense impressions or sensory needs. Like you have needs, but when a desire comes into the mind, it tends to be, more like what we call a craving. Okay? So the problem here is desire in the Buddhist understanding. The problem with desire is that we tend to impute or project onto the desire that will give us like some lasting satisfaction or happiness. It doesn't mean you're not going to eat, drink, make love and all that stuff. But if you think that's really going to give you lasting happiness, that's the approach that we're, abandoning. We're abandoning this type of investment in our, sensory experience that we think is going to make us happy. And so much of it, of addiction and just, our desires, our, habits are based on that illusion. The illusion that, yeah, this will make me happy. You're not even saying that in your mind, but, when we start craving something, we are underneath it kind of, giving it extra power, right? So it's not saying you shouldn't be part of this world. There are lay people who are enlightened. There are, monks who are enlightened. He happens to be talking to monks now. But the idea of desire, of sensual desire, is the same. Okay? It means what type of investment are we giving it? Are we over-invested in our, sensual experience? Or are we saying, as he said here, being satisfied with little, being frugal, being upright, being not needing a lot, being sad, in the beginning here, it said here, right, like, contented and easily satisfied. You know, with those qualities, we tend to have a different relationship to sensory desire. So I think it's not necessarily an ascetic point of view, but it's more the traditional Buddhist one, which is, yeah, desire means craving, and craving and attachment means that we kind of are hoping it will fill some, deep sense of lack. And because it never does, I just repeat the cycle again until I step out of it and I say, wait, this isn't working. You can go through your whole life pursuing desires and wondering why you're not happy, right? So I think someone asked, who was it? There's someone asked, I just read this funny exchange. Someone asked Rockefeller, the magnate, the rich magnate in the U.S., how much is enough? And his answer was, just always more. More is enough. That was his answer, right? And that's a classic, kind of capitalist point of view. That the person with the biggest bank account wins at the end of their life, but they didn't even use it, So, how much is enough? More. So here we're saying, eating, drinking, being satisfied with it. Our meditation, we're being mindful of food doesn't mean you're just going to have plain, rice. Being mindful of food means you can be really mindful of it, and when it's done, you don't keep craving it or immediately start thinking about your next meal. It's that's done, right? Now what? So present mind allows us to basically transcend desire. Anyway, that's a long answer for this, where we say Metta can, if we're caught up in desires are self-centered. They're always about us. And so it's hard to have concern for others when we're focused on satisfying our desires. So yeah. What is suggested, what I suggest, is that this lovely sutra, that you read it every week. If we want a warm zazen, we have to remember why we're sitting. You have to remember your higher motivations, your higher intentions. You may forget them, but you can remember them. You may become unmindful and distracted, and then you become mindful again. Okay? So it doesn't matter how many times you're distracted. More is how many times you remember to be mindful. It doesn't matter how many times you were self-centered. More important is how many times, you remember to cherish others and to wish them well and yourself well, right? So the metta counts more than the selfishness. It really does. And we need reminding. So we call it a practice because, like with mindfulness, it needs reinforcement. Really, I highly encourage you, to practice metta on a daily basis, in whatever form you want, just to yourself, to remind yourself, I'm doing this because I want to be happy, really happy. I really don't want to suffer here, wishing others that it will change your life immediately. Okay? You don't have to wait. You can read this before you do meditation or every week. This sutra is nice. It's good. There are resources on metta. Sharon Salzberg's book, Loving Kindness, is a wonderful basic book on metta. Listening to metta talks or meditations are good. And just continuing the practice. continuing it in addition with the mindfulness practice. They really, as I've been trying to encourage and suggest, they go together, right? They really go together.
Can you talk about the to be born?
To be what?
Like both born and to be born.
Oh, to be born. Well, I guess this creature's not born yet.
Yeah, but like we're talking about living things, that we're talking about something in the future. Are we including this in our metta?
Yeah, future.
We're
The future.
including-
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to include the past. You can't have metta for the past, but yeah, we are thinking if it's expanding, then it's expanding even beyond this present moment. Your metta continues, okay? Your metta continues. Like some light, you know, you see some stars, and the stars are dead, but the light has continued to come with us. So your metta may continue even after you're dead. Like the light from a star that's no longer existing, it's reaching us after 100 million years, right? So your metta will continue in the future. So whatever your metta you give now, we can also hope that, you know, the strength of this wish will continue in the future. Right? I think it's possible. Yeah. We're doing this not just because we want the present to be better, but we do want the world that will be born tomorrow to be better too. You know, and all the beings and all the children and all the creatures that are born, we want them to live in a better world. So yeah, I think having that in mind, we're doing this, all this practice, because we do want a better world. So I think that's one way of expressing it. Yeah. And also the type of creature that you're going to be born as. Those to be born, including myself. But I actually mean it quite literally, like the way you wake up tomorrow morning. You practice metta, you'll wake up happier, says the Buddha. So yeah. You know, this great Tibetan sage named Shantideva has a quote that's quite to the center. He said, "All the joy in the world comes from wanting others to be happy, and all the suffering in the world comes from wanting ourselves to be happy." That's quite a powerful statement, isn't it? All the joy in the world comes from wanting others to be happy, and all the suffering in the world comes from wanting ourselves to be happy. Right? Now, I don't know if he means you can't also want yourself to be happy, but if you only want yourself to be happy and you're not considering others, then it's gonna, cause problems. So if you want to increase your joy and happiness, like if you want to be happy, practice metta. Right? If you want to be happy, practice metta. It's pretty clear what the teachings are telling us, and that's why it's really important. I'll give you one image I had the other, one experience I had to finish this talk. On the last day of the retreat I did at the monastery, when I went to bed, there was a full moon. It's this beautiful full moon, a hazy moon. It's really beautiful, The full moon just captures your attention, your awareness so clearly. And it was hazy, so it's got that haziness and clouds half covering it and the clouds lit behind it. Really beautiful. A few hours later I got up, we're up at 4, and the moon is still there, right? Only now it's a different part of the sky. The moon is there, and it's still hazy and cloudy and beautiful. I thought, oh, how wonderful. And I was sitting there gazing at the moon, and it was the last morning. I was gazing at the moon, and everything was beautiful and serene and pure and just, what you'd want. Best way to end a retreat, right? And then I hear some noise. Somewhere in the background, I heard some noise, and what is that? It sounded like an animal or something. I don't know what it was. I just sat and I was listening to it. And then it became clear what it was. It was a woman who was weeping. She was crying. She was crying, crying, crying. It didn't stop. I just sat. And I was gazing at the moon, the hazy full moon, beautiful, pre-dawn. And at the same time, I'm listening to someone weeping, someone whose experience of that moment was very different from my experience. Very different from my experience. But then by just listening to it, and I was sharing the same field, her experience became my experience. I didn't even know who it was. Never saw her. I didn't look. Don't know. Would never know. But we were both there. She was as real as I was. She is as real as I am. And her experience was different and equal. And it became my experience too, because we shared that moment. She doesn't know it. I don't know who she was. And there was nothing for me to do about it. It wasn't for me to go over to her and try to console her or to stop her from crying. Maybe crying is exactly what she needed to do then. I don't know. But it wasn't for me to, get involved. But it was for me to connect. It was for me to listen deeply. The beauty of the world and the sadness, the joy and the sadness, the beauty and the ugliness, it really goes together. And this practice will open us to all of it. As Whitman said, do I contradict myself? No, I contain multitudes. There's no contradiction there. In the beauty of that moon, the tranquility, and the weeping woman, there's no contradiction. It all exists together. And can we cherish it? Can we hold it? And cherishing doesn't mean liking. You can cherish your child and still think, you made a huge mistake there, right? You don't necessarily like what they did, but you cherish them. Why? Because they exist. And existing is enough. And that's the real message of Metta. Is because you're here, you deserve everything. Because you're here. And that's what we can open to. By being here and being present, being attentive, and being accepting. Open it, and your heart will open. It's not just your mind that opens in meditation, but your heart will too. And that's why we practice.